is the mystery of Avatar, the divine incarnation. And Master and Swamiji have told us again and again, and we all know that the Avatar is God who's descended in human form. And when I was just really reflecting on the topic, it is actually true that we are also all avatars, because Master always said, Yogananda ji always said, that we are made in the image of God. Each one is made in the image of God. And we all are the divine, we all are God in human form, and in that way we all are avatars. But there is some work to be done. That's the only difference between them and us, between these realized souls and us. And Swamiji very beautifully, he states in these words that we just read, that the only difference between these avatars and us is the difference in the consciousness. That when they are born, they know that they are the infinite spirit. They know that they are God. And we still have to realize that when we are born, we are not aware of that, though in truth, we are all actually gods. And Yogananda ji again and again says that the spiritual path is really to just improve on our knowing, bit by bit, improve on this knowing what we truly are. And even in the meditation courses that we do here, we are taught that meditation is smriti. It is that remembrance of what our true nature is and what we truly are. And in true sense, we all are avatars. And these souls, these realized masters, Krishna, Ram, Buddha, they have just realized that in every incarnation that they lived, in every ego involvement that they had, they have realized that they never existed actually, and it was God who was living through them, who was existing, who was breathing, who was thinking, who was acting through them. And actually, I really invite all of us to close our eyes for a moment and push yourself aside for a moment. Forget that it is you living in this body, existing in this body, and instead feel that it is God existing through you in that body. It is God listening. It is God breathing. See how it feels when you know that it is God and not you who is in this body. And gently open the eyes. Swamiji in the Essence of Bhagavad Gita also says, and he says that Master says, Yogananda ji says, that the one once you are one with God, then you are God. You become God, and there is no higher state to reach than oneness with God. And all these avatars, they have reached that state, they have realized that state, and they are one with God, and they have become gods in true sense. And what is God? Yogananda ji says that God is ever existing, ever conscious, ever new joy. It is that infinite bliss. And all these avatars have actually experienced that infinite bliss. They are in that infinite bliss. They have reached that state already. They are in the kingdom of God. And in spite of being in that bliss, where most souls, once they reach there, nobody would want to come back for anything. Even in our life, if we see that we have a beautiful house, we have a beautiful life, everything is going nice and well, who would like to leave that and consciously, deliberately come into a state of suffering? Who would want to do that? None of us would want to do that. But these few souls who were mortal beings, who were like us, they made that effort. They reached that state of oneness with God. They reached that state of bliss, infinite bliss and joy in God, of eternal love in God. But they sacrificed that bliss, that love, only for you and me, for all of us to come back here in this world of suffering and pain again, to be in this mortal human body and go through this world, take this pain and suffering that all the avatars, they actually do. Who would want to do that? Why would anybody want to do that? And all these avatars, they have only done it for us, for you and me. And the more important thing for us now is to really reflect that Swamiji says that they were all mortal beings. They were all like us. They had imperfections. They had habits. They had the tendencies that we all have. They did face all the problems that we are facing. They had problems of relationships. They had their wife fighting with them. They had financial issues. They have experienced everything that we are experiencing. Master again and again said that I was not born as a master. I was not a master. I became a master. And that is why they have come, to show us that they have been in this, they have experienced all of this, and they have come to show us the way, how we can be free, how we can experience that bliss, and how we can become a master. And even in the incarnation, when they came as avatars, when they knew that they were these divine beings and they were God, they realized that even in this form, like Lahiri Mahashayji, we see his life. He was an accountant working for the railway, a very humble person, he was not behaving like God. He had children, he had to go to work. He was not sitting there in meditation and in bliss all the time. He had a wife who was complaining that you are not earning enough, you're not taking care of the kids. Can you imagine? Your husband is God and you are complaining to him that you are not earning money, you are not taking care of my children. But they lived all that, even in their form as an avatar. Yogananda ji, in his life, we see that his brother again and again used to ruin his plans. And he also faced a lot of difficulties. Even in America, when he was there teaching, there were a lot of times he had financial crisis. He didn't have money to run the work. He was sued by the government. He had court cases and all. So there was a lot of suffering that even in these, as an avatars, they did, because they lived a very humble life. And why did they do that? Why did they do that? Only so that we know, to make us realize that they are understanding what we are going through right now. They are experiencing all that we are also experiencing. But they did something else also, along with just what we are doing right now. They worked to change their consciousness. And that is what they have come to give us. And Yogananda ji has promised that he will come again and again, 1,000,000,000 times, even when there is one brother left. And he will come to give these teachings, he will come to give this technique, what he used when he was in this state as ours, what he used, the effort that he made, and what has then brought him to become God. And these masters have come to give us this technique of Kriya, because that is the way in which we can live, we can transform our consciousness, and we can realize truly that we are God, that what we really truly are. They have come, as in the Gita, they says that when the dharma declines, these avatars come to again re-establish dharma. And Yogananda ji's teachings are in that way, in all aspects, in all areas of life. He has told us what is the right thing to do. And it is now up to us to really do the right thing, not behave as per our tendencies and habit patterns again and again and again and again, but behave in the right manner, think in the right manner, and that they have everything actually is given in a platter to us. The technique that to become free, to become completely a free soul, to become an avatar, to become God, the different ways of right action, everything is really given to us in a platter. But even then we say that we don't have time. We don't have time for eternal happiness, for eternal bliss. And we are enjoying living in pain, suffering, and in these imperfections. So let us really reflect why these avatars came, and let us awaken ourselves and make their coming, make their huge sacrifice, living that bliss, leaving away that bliss and love of God, make their huge sacrifice worthwhile. Jai Guru.
Paramhansa Yogananda was once asked, do you remember, Master, you have written that you remember how it was when you were in a cradle. Do you remember what happened before that? And he said, yeah, I never lose consciousness of what was and where I am right now. So how is it different? He says, what, having a body? Yeah, being in a body, from descending into flesh, he said, it's like wearing a heavy weather jacket on a hot summer afternoon. It's inconvenient to avatars to descend into flesh, which we very dearly hold on to. We very, very dearly hold on to this inconvenience. But for them, they do come, but why is the question? Sambhavami yuke yuke is something which we all heard as we grew up, right? Every Sunday, it was in Doordarshan, we heard this sloka. And why did they come? Of course, the answer is very simple, which is to establish the righteousness and defeat the darkness, defeat the evil. Well, the question is, God, why should God come into flesh or take a human form to defeat evil? It's not needed, actually. God doesn't need to be born, or He doesn't need to send a God-realized soul in human form to destroy evil. He can do it right now. But the fact is, the evil is not outside us. It's residing within us as limitations, as desires, as personalities. And it's conveniently hiding behind our rational mind, where we can justify each and every limitation of us. So it's a tricky job to do. So what they do, they descend into flesh and they live in a way, their life is orchestrated in a way so that they can be examples. As Swami Kriyananda and Master always reminded us, great masters come to earth not to show how great they are, but to tell all of us how great we can be, to establish that. Now, I'll read a couple of lines from Autobiography of Yogi, where Paramhansa Yogananda writes about Avatar. He says, an avatar is unsubject to the universal economy. His pure body, visible as a light image, is free from any debt to nature. The casual gaze may see nothing extraordinary in an avatar's form, but it casts no shadow nor makes any footprint on the ground. These are the outward symbolic proof of an inward lack of darkness and material bondage. So let me read that last sentence again. Usually we get caught here, The body does not cast any shadow, nor does it make any footprint. Wow! But then the next sentence is very important. These are outward symbolic proof of an inward lack of darkness and material bondage. Now that itself can be discussed at length. Lack of inward darkness. So what are the darkness which we have? If we have darkness outside, it's fine. I mean, we can switch on the light. It's very convenient in Dwapara age. But what about the inner darkness? And how can it be removed? Of course, the easy answer is through yoga, meditation, practicing yama and niyama. But the inward darkness can be removed even by listening to stories of saints, by holding them, the stories and lives of saints in our mind. Even that would do a great deal of good for us. And in the same book, he goes again ahead and explains that Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Patanjali were ancient avatars of India. Now take Rama for example. There is Ramayana and then there is Ramcharitramanas. Now, last year when we were on a pilgrimage to Varanasi, I was going through many readings and we were discussing with Keshava what are the spots we can go to. And one of the places in Varanasi is Tulsi Ghat, where Tulsidas wrote Ramcharitramanas. My question immediately was, why there is Ramcharitramanas when there is already a Ramayana in existence? So I just wanted to read more about that. And immediately I thought that when I searched, it just said, it said Ramcharitramanas is a lake of deeds of Rama. But when I read more and more, it said that Charit actually means character and Manas actually means thought. The whole scripture was rewritten by Tulsidas just about the character of Ram, not just like a story, to establish the character of Ram. Why? Because Ravana was all powerful. Between Ram and Ravana, who was powerful? Ravana, mostly because he had the power to split mountains, to move oceans. Who was a great Bhakt? It was Ravana actually, because he was able to summon Shiva whenever he wanted, and Shiva's favorite was Ravana. He even wrote hymns on Shiva which pleased Shiva. He was a great musician who was rich. Ravana, his city was made of gold. And even if Ramayana is an imaginary story, in that story, Ravana was politically, economically, power in bhakti, very, very well established. He was a Brahmin. Rama was a Kshatriya. In the order of evolution, as Paramhansa Yogananda says, Ravana was much more evolved than Ravana. But why did Ram stand out? Because of his character. The time and the number of, repeated number of times he gave Ravana a chance to realize his inner darkness and to work upon it. He could have easily gone and saved his wife, but he took time. He sent a messenger, he sent a second messenger. He could have leaped across the ocean. He too had the power. He was an avatar. But he patiently built a bridge. Why? Giving time to Ravana to reform his inner darkness. And even in the battlefield, when Ravan did not have any weapons, he could have killed him. He did not kill him. He said, go today, come tomorrow, reflect. Even he waited a number of times. He gave so much chance to Ravana to remove that inner darkness, but he did not. And he had to be defeated. And this was not just Rama who did that. Krishna gave chances. There are many stories. Jesus Christ, again, he knew that he was going to be crucified. And he also said that when the army went to arrest him, they asked who is Jesus out of the disciples and Christ. They were all hiding in the forest. When the officer asked who is Jesus, he put a foot in front and said, I am Jesus. And that was so powerful that it threw the army behind. But yet he got himself arrested. Yet he got himself crucified. And when he was crucified, he was praying for those people who were driving nail into his hands and feet, forgiving them. And all these avatars have one common complaint. I've read about a Tamil saint called Ramalinga. The last sentence he said before his samadhi was, I opened a shop, but there are no customers, hence I leave. Jesus Christ said it in a different way. The harvest is plenty. There is so much. But the reapers, people who come, the reapers are very, very few. Everybody cannot be the most richest man in this world, because there is only one person who can be the richest. But everybody who wants to be self-realized can be self-realized. That's why the harvest is plenty, but the seekers are very few. So we are not in that, people who are ignoring that. We are those few. Our numbers are good. As Paramhansa Yogananda said, 1 out of 1,000 desires God, and 1 out of that 1,000 actually makes that effort, and 1 among that 1,000 actually reaches God. But our numbers are good, was the statement by Paramhansa Yogananda. So let's hold on to that thought that, as Sachi said, we too are avatars. And just 25% more work has to be done. 75% has already been done by God and gurus. Just 25% more, and which 75% above 75 is first class, right? So we are in a good place already. Just a few more steps, and it's not as daunting as we imagine it to be. A little effort every single time. Paramhansa Yogananda said to somebody who was complaining, you can do anything, you are a master. And he replied, what do you think made me a master? I did practice, I did put out the effort. That's why I am a master. So all we need to do is put out that effort and ask ourselves, what is that inward darkness which we have. And usually it is something which we very well justify. So introspection is something which we all need to do, and we can offer that inner darkness to the Lord. We need not do this alone. We are not alone. Our God and Guru, they are even more eager for our liberation than we are for our own liberation. So all we need to do is not, grimly work towards something, but just cheerfully offer it up. That's why we, in the purification ceremony, we always pray that, purifying by the grace of God. Opening our hearts and letting them enter and take charge of our life. That's all we need to do. Open our hearts, let them take charge. They will do the cleaning. And make them responsible. God and Gurus like it when you make them responsible. Because usually when we take things in our hand, we do more damage than we do good. But when we offer it up, when we make Gurus responsible, they like it and they do a better job than us. And remember the chant, Master wrote about Swami Shri on his Swami Shri Yukteswar, thou art my life, thou art my love, he says, devotee knows who you are, he knows whom you let know. So if you aren't feeling Paramhansa Yogananda and you suddenly realize, then you put the blame on him. He said, Master, you are not letting me know who you are. I will know when you let me know. Make him in charge and for sure we will succeed. Thank you.